So let's talk about the income leisure model. I guess you're familiar with the income leisure model, but I want to show that a basic income could be introduced in that model. So why don't we start with that? So the income leisure model has a leisure here on the horizontal axis, and I abbreviate that with capital F because I need the L for labor. And on the vertical axis we have income, abbreviate that with Y. And so the utility depends on income and leisure, both positively correlated with utility, meaning that the partial utility with respect to income is positive and the partial utility with respect to leisure is positive and the second derivatives are negative due to diminishing utility. And this ends up here in a negatively sloped indifference curve where the total differential is 0. So the utility does not change over the indifference curve, as you know. And the logic here is if you give up 1 unit of leisure time, so you start working, so we have another axis which is labor supply. If you start working, you give up 1 unit of leisure, then you have to be compensated by some positive income, additional income, to remain on the same utility level or to remain on the difference curve. So that's the logic of the model. I guess you're familiar with that. So now let me wipe that out and let's continue with the budget line. So the budget line, let's say, starts here, 24 hours of leisure time, and then you start working, right? You start working and you could work 24 hours a day, 3 shifts, that's the max. And then dependent on your wage, the wage measured in euros per hour, for example, or could be also dollars or other currencies per hour, but it's a constant wage that is assumed here in the model, and if you start working 24 hours a day, you end up here on the vertical axis. If the wage is getting higher, then your budget line gets steeper. If the wage is getting lower, then your budget line gets flatter. That's just standard, right? And then we know that the optimal solution, optimal household solution is that given a budget line with a certain wage, there is an optimal combination of leisure and labor leading to a certain income. And now if you change the wage because you introduce a tax on labor, if you change the wage because you introduce a tax of labor, then the slope of the budget line gets flatter, gets smaller, and that's what we call price distortion. So the price on the labor market is distorted, so that's what we do not want, because that's associated with dead weight loss. People work less and the total surplus is not maximized. That's what we now know from welfare economics. No? So that's the standard model. And now in a second step, let me introduce the basic income.